Hello there. It's your girl, Meta. And in this specific Meta moment, it's going to be mobile. As y'all can see, I'm outside. I'm just enjoying my little icy, still a little bit of the sun that's left for the day, Just, breathing deeply and enjoying me, right? But I have been putting off this specific Meta moment for a while because I wanted to do a little bit of research, get some more in-depth understanding of what exactly I'm talking about, as opposed to just going on the top of head and it's just it's off shoot from the hip kind of observation. I wanted to get more in depth on what exactly I was talking about. But this one is more or less a comparison because I have also had the pleasure and the unfortunate experience of dealing with both these situations, or should I say characterizations of people, which are the misogynist and the pick-me-shas. Now, if you don't know what a misogynist is, or a pick-me-sha, for lack of better terms, and to put this in layman's, they are literally one and the same. But both of these specific individuals are gendered, as acknowledged as male and female, and they both facilitate discontent, oppressionistic behavior, and sometimes even rage against women specifically. Now, from my understanding, on the far side, we have the misogynists, right? The misogynists are males that obviously exhibit hate, unsupportive, and even oppressive behavior towards women, simply off the fact of some form of superiority complex, considering women to be less than men, right? And on the other side, we have pick-me-shas, which are women who facilitate in toxic, oppressive, even attempts of trying to, for lack of a better word, demean other women in support of men that they believe are worthy of them. So more or less, it's the same thing, right? Now, what makes them this? On one side, when it comes to misogynist, this stimulates typically from a lack of maternal connection between a mother and son, and or an exhibition of having a fraternal example who exuberates this in the home. So they learn this either from their lack of interaction from their mothers, or they have a fraternal father figure type person who pushes this characteristics upon their child. Now, when it comes to pick-me-shas, it's women who, for lack of a better word, do not have the fraternal validation from their father figures in their lives, and they tend to reach out and attempt to find validation from all types of men outside of their circle, and attempts to achieve their validation in that manner, but unfortunately it tends to become more toxic and detrimental towards other women like them, other females, I guess, self-identified females. Now, what, in my personal opinion, is worse? Because on one hand, as a man, as a man that's supposed to be that, for lack of a better word, the other side to the woman, right? Who's supposed to be a supporting figure to the woman, being, overly aggressive, demeaning, and is downright oppressive towards females. You have women that's supposed to be on your side, also most likely will experience the same kind of treatment from misogynists, encouraging this kind of behavior. So it's like, what do we do when, what we do, because we already know they exist regardless if we want them to or not, but as people, how do we continue to encourage this behavior from both sides, from both sexes, right? Because it doesn't help anybody to constantly perpetuate this narrative of having this detrimental, oppressive behavior towards women who just enjoy themselves and their likeness, and is relatively all the same. But as a person who has experienced both sides of or excuse me, not both sides. I have experienced both treatment from both pick-me-shias and misogynists. I honestly say that the blow is just as equal, but it could be very more, let me say, more influential when it comes from the pick-me-shias. Specifically because it's like misogynists are always there. They have been there since the dawn of time, but this need for other women to encourage their behavior simply because they feel that they are the qualified enough women for these type of men is just like, it baffles the crap out of me, because that same disgusting behavior that they will is not going to not be attributed towards you because you uplift their kind of, their understanding. Like, it does not exude you from their beliefs of you being inferior to them. So it becomes, it comes baffling at that point. But yet they still exist. In fact, I believe since I was probably no more than like 7-8 years old, have more experience with pick-me-shias than I have with misogynists. So it's like, it just shows that somewhere along the line, us as women, we just lost our allegiance to each other, and we decided that being competitive towards each other in alliance with men was a way better road to go, which doesn't make any sense, because if we are supposed to be in solidarity, how can we maintain that if we're at odds and we're picking sides when specifically when it comes to picking mates? It just does not make any sense. But they exist, and it just continues to confuse me in this way, because we put so much what should I say? We push back so much on misogyny these days that we are technically given like the little, a leg up, a little alleviation towards the pick-me-shias, when they are they are like the gatekeepers and keeping misogyny at its low, if that makes sense. But we don't really give them the much credit of how much they are detrimental to the feminine society, for lack of a better word, because they just encourage this potential violence and oppressive behaviors off from the patriarchy of the world. Like, it just doesn't make sense that we don't give them as much pushback as we do for men, simply because they're women. I think that's just so biased in its own right, because they're just as effective. Like, I spent the vast majority of my youth, and I'm just going to talk about like a personal experience, experiencing my everyday, having situations where oppressive, demeaning behavior from other women that's supposed to be encouraging my femininity was like on a way greater scale than I've had yet to. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have just enough experience with misogynists, but way more with pick-me-shias in my life that it's just like, I won't even sit there and say that it's like a increased fluctuation of this ideals from women, but I think it's more of an act of desperation on their part of trying to become mateable, and it just doesn't even make sense, because if somebody wants to be your spouse, if they want to make you their partner, then they're going to actually approach you in a manner of respect, and it doesn't take embarrassing behavior. It doesn't take you trying to shun anybody. It doesn't take you trying to, falsify your identity and or demean somebody else's credibility while trying to do that. So it just makes me wonder, when are we going to acknowledge this toxic situation that's fumigating within our feminine community? Because it's just something. Oh yeah, definitely. You have a great one. It's just, I honestly believe that we need to do better when it comes to situations of that nature, because it's not going to just go away. I mean, I'm well into my 30s, and I've experienced this since a relatively young girl, I guess. So it just doesn't make sense to not be in solidarity with other women and allow the pick-me-shias to flourish even further into the community off of lack thereof spousal support. So, in that kind of, way, it's been a meta moment, right? And let me know in the comment section, like, what do you think is worse? If you ever had the privilege of experiencing either or, because trust me, they're there. They're very prominent, and they do not hide. Unfortunately, if only they would, because that negativity is just not necessary. And I want better for us as a woman. Ooh, excuse me. That got gross. You know, I want better for us as a people. And it starts with us calling each other out on our bullshit. So let me know in the comment section which one in your personal opinion is worse. Is it the pick-me-shas that encourage misogynist behavior, or just a straight out, you know, patriarchy of this narrative that men are superior to women from misogyny? And let me know.